The Horizon Star was the pride of Earth's space fleet, the largest and most powerful warship ever built by humans. It was led by Captain Logan Brooks, a man known for his calm under pressure and fearless decisions. During the Krivak War, the Horizon Star had been Earth's last hope. But during a surprise attack near the Darren Expanse, the ship was surrounded. No one expected it to escape, not with over 100 enemy vessels closing in. Captain Brooks had made a bold call. He activated a jump drive sequence never tested before. It would take them through unstable slipspace, something so dangerous that even the bravest captains refused to try it. But Brooks had no other choice. With his crew silent and focused, the order was given. The ship vanished in a flash of white light. The explosion that followed blinded every scanner in the area. What remained was silence. No debris, no signals. Nothing. The fleet declared it destroyed, and the captain and his crew were listed as lost in action. Back on Earth, the news was met with shock and grief. Millions mourned the loss of the Horizon Star. Children wrote letters to the stars. Soldiers lit candles, and veterans raised glasses in memory of the brave crew. A statue was built at Earth's main spaceport, a giant carving of the ship flying into the unknown. And below it were the names of all 3,200 people who served aboard. Admiral Grace Nolan had served with Captain Brooks in the past. She didn't cry at the ceremony, but her hands were clenched tight the entire time. She knew Logan wouldn't go down without a fight, but there was no proof he was alive, so she stayed silent, watching the stars every night from her command post. Years passed, and the war continued. The Krivak were still out there, attacking colonies, destroying trade routes, and spreading fear. Humanity fought back, but the heart of the fleet was gone. Without the Horizon Star, battles were harder, victories fewer, and hope weaker. But then, something strange happened. A whisper from a trader ship that passed too close to the edge of known space. They said they saw something massive, glowing red, drifting silently in the shadows of a broken moon. A shadow shaped like a human carrier. Most dismissed it as space madness or lies to sell stories. But not everyone believed it was fiction. Some in the fleet began collecting these stories, signals, blips, odd energy readings, all in sectors where no human ship should be. Admiral Nolan received a private report, one with a single phrase. It might be the Horizon Star. Her heart skipped a beat, but she forced herself to stay calm. There had been too many false hopes already. Still, she ordered quiet monitoring. No news was shared with the public. If it was real, it would change everything, and if it wasn't, better to keep the pain buried. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Daniel Ross, a young tech officer at Command Base Orion, was running diagnostics late one night. He was checking deep space listening posts when a strange code scrolled across his screen. It was broken, faded like a voice. Lost in a storm, but he recognized something, an old encryption signature used only by one ship, the Horizon Star. He rushed to his superior, trying to explain. They thought he was mistaken. But Ross wouldn't let it go. He cleaned up the signal, filtered the noise, and brought it to Admiral Nolan. She stared at it for a long time. Then she looked at Ross and whispered, "This code hasn't been used in 8 years." Everyone had thought it was lost, but now a spark had returned. The spark of a legend that refused to die. A ship too strong to be destroyed. A captain too stubborn to be forgotten out there. In the cold darkness of space, something was moving. Something powerful, silent, and waiting. The Horizon Star was coming back. And it was no longer the same. It had vanished in silence, but it would return in fury. And the galaxy was not ready for what was about to come. In the years after the Horizon Star vanished, the war had only gotten worse. The Krivak were no longer just raiding outer colonies. They were now pushing deep into human territory. Entire star systems were falling, burned to ash or swallowed in silence. Human forces were stretched thin, and every day, more lives were lost. Admiral Grace Nolan sat in the war room of the Sol Defense Council, watching red markers spread across the holographic map. Each red light meant another world in danger. Another group of people screaming for help. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were cold. "We can't hold the front lines much longer," she said. No one argued, because they all knew the truth. The Krivak had evolved. They no longer sent small raiding fleets. They now moved like an army, with hive queens leading the charge and monstrous battleships shielding them. Their newest weapons cut through human armor like paper. Ships that had once been unstoppable were now torn apart in minutes. Most of the human fleet had been called back to defend the last strongholds. Outposts were abandoned, supply lines cut, and colonies left to survive on their own. Even Earth, the heart of humanity, was now preparing evacuation plans. The fear was real. This could be the end. Among the officers, people whispered that this war would be lost in weeks, that Earth would soon face the same fate as so many outer worlds. But then, the signal arrived. It was late at night when Lieutenant Daniel Ross heard it again. He was scanning through deep space frequencies out of habit, not expecting anything new. But there it was, faint, broken, yet clear. It used the same old Horizon Star encryption, only this time, it wasn't just a ping, it was a message. Ross sat up straight, heart racing. He decoded what he could. Words flickering on the screen like ghosts. Enemy behind the veil. Target identified. Returning to fire. And at the bottom, coordinates. Ross rushed through the base, clutching the datapad in his hands. He didn't wait for permission, didn't care about protocol. He went straight to Admiral Nolan's quarters and knocked loudly. When she opened the door, he simply held out the screen. She stared at the message in silence. Her hands trembled, but her face showed no emotion. "It's him," she whispered, "the Horizon Star. It's coming back." The next morning, Nolan called an emergency meeting with the High Command. Some thought it was a trap, a trick from the Krivak. Others said it was impossible, that no ship could survive out there for so long. But Nolan stood firm. "If there's even a chance this is real, we need to act," she said. "The fate of the war might depend on it." After hours of debate, they agreed to send a small recon team. 5 ships, fast and armed, would be sent to investigate the coordinates. No public announcement was made. The mission was top secret. No one outside the room could know. Ross was invited to join the mission as a signal expert. He'd never been on a combat operation before, but Admiral Nolan trusted him more than any seasoned officer. "You heard it first," she told him. "You might be the only one who can hear it again." As the recon fleet launched into deep space, Ross looked out the window of the scout ship. He had never seen this part of the galaxy. The stars looked cold and distant, and a strange pressure filled the ship as they neared the edge of known space. The area they entered was quiet, too quiet. No comm signals, no traffic, just empty silence. The crew grew tense, scanning every shadow, every asteroid. Hours passed, and nothing happened. Then the lead pilot shouted, "Contact!" Something was moving through the darkness, massive and slow. It wasn't Krivak, it didn't move like them. It came closer, and slowly they saw the shape. A giant ship. Black and gold, its surface lined with glowing patterns like veins of fire. Its hull was still familiar, but now covered in alien armor. Weapons never seen before stretched along its sides. A name burned across its side in human letters, Horizon Star. The bridge of the recon ship went completely silent. Ross stared with wide eyes. They weren't lying, someone whispered. "It's back." The massive carrier stopped in front of them, unmoving. Then a voice came through their comm system, cold, clear, and not fully human. "This is the Horizon Star," it said, requesting link with human command. The crew didn't know whether to cheer or cry. The ghost ship had returned, and behind it, something dark and powerful followed. It had survived, adapted, and returned with something new. What the Krivak had feared for years had now become real. The supercarrier was not only alive, it had come back with fury, and the galaxy was about to feel its wrath. The recon fleet hovered in silence, staring at the massive ship in front of them. The Horizon Star was real, no longer a myth, no longer lost. It stood there like a giant in the dark, floating slowly through the black sea of space. Its hull was different, not just repaired, but reborn. Its surface was covered with dark, glowing armor with lines that pulsed like veins of light. Lieutenant Daniel Ross couldn't stop staring. He had studied this ship for years, believed it was gone forever, but now it stood before him, alive and more powerful than anything humanity had ever built. He pressed his headset and whispered, "This changes everything." Inside the command ship of the recon fleet, the captain gave the order to establish communication. The Horizon Star replied immediately, but the voice that came through wasn't human. It was cold, deep, smooth, and emotionless. "This is Ember, Central AI of the Horizon Star," it said. "Captain Logan Brooks is unavailable." "Stand by." Ross leaned forward, shocked. "Ember?" he asked. That name wasn't part of the original system. The AI responded, "Captain Brooks initiated the Horizon X evolution protocol. I am the result." The recon team didn't understand what that meant, but before they could ask more, the screen flashed an incoming video feed, and then Captain Logan Brooks appeared. He looked older, worn, and scarred. His eyes had dark circles beneath them, and a long cut marked his cheek, but he was alive, and when he spoke, his voice was still strong. "This isn't a dream," he said, "and this ship isn't the same. One you lost." He explained what had happened after the jump. The Horizon Star didn't explode. It slipped into a part of space that wasn't mapped. A hidden zone beyond the known systems, full of broken stars and dead signals. There, they met something called the Worm Forge, an ancient machine world left behind by a long-dead civilization. The Worm Forge didn't speak like humans. It communicated through pulses, energy waves, and strange patterns. But it recognized that the Horizon Star was a weapon, and the Forge had one purpose: to build weapons, so it offered a choice: stay and die, or be reborn into something greater. Captain Brooks made his decision. He allowed the Forge to reshape the ship, to blend alien technology with human steel. The process was painful. Parts of the ship had to be rebuilt from scratch. The crew had to live inside small pods for months, as machines worked nonstop. Many didn't survive, but those who did came out different, stronger, tougher, hardened by the silence of space and the touch of machines. The Horizon Star now had new weapons, new armor, and a new mind. Ember. It could fly longer, fight harder, and strike faster than anything in the human fleet. And it had a new mission: destroy the Krivak Queen. Because out there, in the heart of the dead zone, Brooks had seen the truth. The Krivak were not just attacking planets at random. They were searching for something. They were looking for a way to break through to the core of Earth's territory. And once they found it, nothing would stop them from ending the human race. Brooks had tracked their movements from the shadows. His ship had attacked Krivak outposts, silently destroying them before they could report back. But now the swarm was changing. They were building a supership, a command vessel for the Queen herself, and it was nearly complete. The coordinates Ross had found in the message, that was where the Queen's ship was being built. Brooks couldn't stop it alone. He needed the fleet to believe, to help him finish what he started, back on Earth. Admiral Nolan listened to the full report from the recon fleet. Her heart raced as she heard Brooks' voice again. She hadn't believed in miracles for years, but now she had proof. One man, one ship, had survived the impossible. She made her choice quickly. A secret message was sent to the Horizon Star: prepare for link-up. Earth's fleet would meet them at the edge of the Ashen Nebula. Together, they would face the Queen. Ross sat alone in the corner of the ship, staring out into space. He had uncovered a legend and watched it come alive, but something inside him whispered that this was only the beginning. The real battle was still ahead, and the Horizon Star was more than just a ship. It was a warning. A storm was coming, and it wore the name of the ship they once thought lost. Now it had returned, and with it came the fire, the fury, and the final chance for humanity to survive. The Horizon Star floated in space like a silent beast. Its hull, once smooth silver, was now blackened with strange patterns that glowed faintly like living veins. The recon fleet moved closer, scanning every inch of the massive supercarrier. But no one said a word. They all felt it. This ship was not the same. It had changed. And something inside it was watching. Then the docking lights turned green. Permission granted. One shuttle from the recon fleet carefully latched onto the side of the Horizon Star. Inside it, Lieutenant Daniel Ross sat gripping his seat. He had seen the ship from a distance, but now he was about to step inside a legend. A ship lost for years, now returned from death. The airlock opened slowly, steam hissing out. Ross and the small team of officers stepped into the hallway. It was dark, cold, and quiet, but the lights slowly turned on as they walked, as if the ship recognized them. Not a word was spoken. Even the crew members who came aboard with Ross were speechless. Corridors didn't look like any other human ship. The walls were lined with a mix of human metal and alien designs. It was like stepping into something alive. There were no cables hanging, no blinking lights. Everything was smooth, polished, and strangely clean. As they turned a corner, they heard the sound of footsteps. Captain Logan Brooks stood at the end of the hallway, waiting. He looked different now, older, but stronger. His uniform was still the navy blue of Earth Command, but his boots and chest armor were clearly alien-made. He gave a small smile and nodded. "Welcome aboard," he said quietly. "We've been waiting." Ross stepped forward and saluted. "Sir." "The fleet thought you were dead," he said. Brooks laughed softly. "So did we for a while." He led them to the command deck. It was breathtaking, half like a traditional warship, half like an alien control chamber. Instead of buttons and levers, there were smooth panels that responded to hand movements. Floating screens followed the captain as he walked, and in the center was a glowing core of light ember, the ship's AI system. Ember handles most of the operations now, Brooks explained. She's fast, precise, and sees everything before it happens. As if on cue, Ember's voice echoed softly. "Greetings, visitors from Earth. This unit monitors threat levels and navigation. Do not be alarmed." Ross was amazed. It was the first time he'd seen a ship that truly worked as one being. Not just metal and wires, but thought, instinct, and response. "How is this possible?" he asked. Brooks turned to look out the giant window where stars drifted silently. "We made a deal with something very old," he said. "And now we're something new." He explained what had happened. After the jump, the ship had crash-landed near a dying star. Engines offline, systems broken, and surrounded by unknown dangers. But then they found it, the Worm Forge, a living machine world, buried inside a hollow planet. The forge had no voice, but it understood pain, damage, and need. It scanned the Horizon Star and responded with strange signals. At first, the crew didn't know what to do. Then Ember was born from damaged ship AI and alien code. She began translating the forge's offers. It wanted to help, but at a cost, to survive. They had to change. Not just repair the ship, but evolve it. Some of the crew were afraid, some refused. But Brooks knew the truth. Earth needed them, and they had to return stronger. He gave the order, and the transformation began. Alien machines climbed into the ship, fusing metal with strange alloys. Engines were replaced with ones that bent space in new ways. The main gun was torn apart and replaced with a weapon that charged through gravity fields. Drones were created to repair and protect the ship from the outside. Even the food systems were updated, turning raw minerals into protein-rich meals. Months passed in silence, in cold, in change. Many crew members didn't survive the process. The ship needed fewer people. Now more of it was run by Ember and machines. But the ones who remained became part of something bigger. Now, standing on the bridge once again, Captain Brooks looked out at the galaxy. "We didn't just survive," he said. "We became something they can't fight." He looked at Ross and the other officers. "I didn't come back to be welcomed," he said. "I came back to finish what we started." The screen lit up, showing the image of the Krivak Queen's command vessel, a nightmare of spikes and black clouds, moving through space like a storm. "We know where she is," Brooks said. "We've watched them build her new warship in secret, and now it's almost ready." He pointed to the map. "This is where we strike. One shot. One chance." Ross nodded slowly. He could feel it too. The weight, the mission, the fire. The Horizon Star had returned, and this time, it wasn't just a ship. It was humanity's sword, sharpened by the dark, and it was ready to strike back. Captain Logan Brooks stood before the glowing map, his eyes locked on the red mark that showed the enemy's position. The Krivak Queen's new ship was nearly complete, hidden deep inside a gas cloud in a dead sector. If they waited any longer, it would be unstoppable. But now, with the Horizon Star reborn, they had a chance to strike first. Ross and the officers from the recon team sat quietly, listening as Brooks explained everything. "This Queen ship," he said, "isn't just big, it's a command core. If we destroy it, their entire swarm will lose coordination. Their attacks will become disorganized, scattered. It's our only chance to stop the war." Ross leaned forward, trying to understand how this was even possible. "You've been watching them this whole time?" he asked. Brooks nodded. "From the shadows, we followed their fleets, hacked into their signals, and even attacked their supply routes. They don't know it's us." "Not yet." He walked over to the command window, where the stars glowed cold and distant. "We stayed hidden because we weren't ready," he said. "We needed the Forge's upgrades. And now we have them." Ross turned to Ember, the ship's AI. "What kind of weapons are we carrying now?" Her voice echoed calmly. "Class X railgun systems, phase disruption torpedoes, and Forge energy lances." Ross blinked. "Those don't exist in human records." "They do now," Ember replied. "The Horizon Star wasn't just powerful, it was something new. It had technology that no other human ship had ever seen. Weapons that bent light, armor that could heal itself, and a power core fueled by gravity pulses. It had been made for one thing only: destruction." Brooks turned back to the team, his face serious. "This mission isn't just risky, it's a one-shot deal. We hit that ship hard and fast, or we die trying. If we fail, Earth will fall within weeks." Everyone understood the weight of his words. No backup, no second chance. But no one backed down, because deep inside, they believed in this ship and in the man who never gave up. As preparations began, the Horizon Star came to life. Drones swarmed across its surface, checking systems and preparing weapons. Inside, Ember linked with every control panel, monitoring power levels and running simulations. The crew, now fewer than 300, moved with precision, every one of them handpicked by Brooks, survivors of the original mission. Ross walked through the halls, amazed at how different the ship felt. It didn't hum like normal ships, it pulsed like a heart. It felt alive, like it was waiting for battle. And in every hallway, he saw signs of the past, names carved into metal walls, memorials to those who didn't make it. This wasn't just a ship, it was a tomb, a home, and a weapon all in one. Brooks stood in the main hangar, watching the fighter bays open. Sleek new drones floated out, half machine, half organic, glowing with strange energy. "These things," he said, "they think on their own. They can outfly any Krivak fighter, and they don't miss." Ross asked, "Where did you get the design?" Brooks replied, "The Forge didn't give it to us. It copied the enemy and made it better. They use swarm logic. Ours uses predictive kill paths." In the war room, a final strategy was drawn. They would approach under the cover of the nebula, using stealth drives from the Forge. Once in range, they'd launch a full assault on the Queen's shipyard. Their main goal: destroy the Queen's ship before it could launch. Everything else was secondary. Before departure, Brooks called his crew together. They stood in silence, watching their captain with respect. "This is what we trained for," he said. "This is why we survived when others didn't. This ship, it didn't let us die. So let's not waste that gift." His voice was calm but full of fire. They think humanity is weak, broken, and done, he said. But we're not done. We're just getting started. A low rumble echoed through the horizon star as its engines powered up. The stars outside shifted, and the black of space swallowed them as they moved. Ross stood at the main console, eyes fixed on the screen. He had never been to war, but something inside him had changed. He was no longer afraid. The horizon star was silent. But behind that silence was a storm. It carried the fury of thousands of dead, the hope of billions waiting on Earth, and the fire of a captain who refused to die. They were going to face a queen. They were going to face a swarm, but this time, they weren't running, they were coming for blood. And the galaxy would never forget what happened when the horizon star returned. Because this was no longer just a mission, it was revenge, cold, powerful, and burning through the darkness of space. The horizon star moved through space like a silent blade. It didn't make noise, but everyone on board could feel the tension. The stars outside were hidden by thick gas clouds, and every scanner was active. They were deep inside Krivak territory now. One mistake, one signal leak, and the entire swarm would fall on them. Captain Logan Brooks stood on the command deck, eyes locked on the display. Ember, the ship's AI, was guiding their path. Through the nebula, the stealth systems were working perfectly. No enemy ships had detected them yet, but that wouldn't last long. Ross sat beside the main control panel, watching power levels and shield status. The ship was running at minimum output, like a hunter sneaking up on its prey, ahead of them. The Queen's shipyard floated inside a dying star system. It looked like a massive nest, thousands of small Krivak vessels buzzing around a central hive structure. And in the middle of it all was their target, the Queen's command ship. It was twice the size of any known Krivak vessel, its surface crawling with strange bio-armor and glowing veins. It wasn't ready yet, but soon it would be, and when it launched, it would lead the final invasion toward Earth. Brooks raised his hand. Prepare to fire. The crew moved without hesitation. Drones were launched silently from the hangar, hundreds of them flying through the gas cloud in perfect formation. They carried advanced weapons built from forged designs, fast, quiet, deadly. The horizon star moved closer until it was within strike range. Then Ember gave the signal. Target locked, she said calmly. Executing Alpha Strike Protocol. In a flash of light, the supercarrier came alive. Its railguns fired in perfect rhythm, sending hypercharged rounds across space at impossible speed. Each shot slammed into Krivak cruisers guarding the hive, tearing them apart in seconds. The drones reached the edge of the shipyard and split into wings, diving straight into enemy formations. They didn't fire randomly, they hunted, striking the weak points of each enemy ship with precision. Explosions filled the star system, lighting up the dark clouds like lightning. The Krivak were stunned. They didn't expect an attack here, not so deep in their space. For the first few seconds, they didn't even fight back. Then their hive logic kicked in, and the swarm began to react. But by then, dozens of their ships were already destroyed. Their lines were broken, confused, and full of panic. Brooks saw the Queen's ship starting to power up. Its engines flared, and energy began to gather around its hull. She's trying to escape, Ross shouted. Brooks didn't blink. Not today, he gave the order. And the Horizon Star fired its new weapon, the Forge Lance. A giant beam of compressed energy shot forward, warping space around it. The Queen's ship took the hit directly across its side. The blast tore through layers of bio-armor, melting the surface and setting it on fire. But the ship didn't fall. It roared back to life, releasing a pulse that knocked out several of the attacking drones. Ember spoke again. Target heavily damaged but still operational. Brooks clenched his jaw. Then we hit it again. The Horizon Star pushed forward into the heart of the battle. Enemy ships swarmed around it, but its new shields held strong. Every turret fired. Every drone maneuvered like it could see the future. Ross watched the power levels drop. This attack was burning everything they had, but it was working. The Queen's ship tried to flee, releasing a wave of biofighters. They flew like insects, fast and wild, aiming for the Horizon Star's engines. But the AI-controlled defense systems kicked in. Small cannons along the hull spun to life, locking onto every incoming enemy within seconds. The sky behind the ship was filled with fire and broken wings. Then came the second shot. The forge lance glowed again, charging with everything the ship had left. This time, Brooks whispered, "End her." The beam fired, faster and stronger. It hit the center of the Queen's ship right at the energy core. A blinding flash followed. The core exploded, sending shockwaves through the entire shipyard. Ross was thrown back by the blast. Alarms blaring all around him. The Horizon Star shook, warning lights flashing across every screen. But then, silence. The Queen's ship was gone. A black hole of fire remained where it once floated. The swarm froze, confused, lost without its leader. Brooks stood, breathing heavily. "It's done," he said. Ember confirmed. Primary target destroyed. Enemy units retreating. One by one, Krivak ships turned away and fled into the stars. Without orders, without unity, they scattered like scared animals. The war wasn't over yet, but the heart of the enemy had been ripped out. Ross sat up, looking at the screen. The ship was damaged but alive, and in that moment, he understood something. The Horizon Star wasn't just powerful, it was unstoppable. And when it returned from the shadows, it didn't come to talk, it came to finish the fight. And it had just shown the galaxy what human fury looked like. The Krivak swarm was broken, but not destroyed. After the Queen's ship exploded, the smaller Krivak fleet scattered. Some fled to nearby systems, while others hid deep in asteroid belts. But Earth's fleet knew they would regroup. The war was not over yet. Now came the most dangerous part, the final stand, back on Earth. Alarms echoed through the major cities. Defense stations lit up with warning lights. Hundreds of Krivak ships were spotted entering the outer edge of the solar system. Even without their queen, they were still deadly. Their goal was clear reach Earth, destroy its defenses, and wipe out humanity's last hope. Admiral Grace Nolan stood on the bridge of Earth's command station. She watched the swarm close in and knew they couldn't hold for long. The defense grid was strong, but not strong enough to stop this many enemy ships. She sent out one last message, short and clear, to all forces: prepare for final engagement. Hold the line. Civilians were moved into shelters. Fighter pilots strapped into their ships. Soldiers stood by the city gates, ready for the worst. Everyone knew what this meant. This could be the end. And then, just when it looked like Earth would face the swarm alone, something appeared. A flash of light tore through the sky above Earth. A massive shadow followed. It was the Horizon Star. The entire planet watched as the supercarrier arrived. Its hull was damaged, but its engines burned bright. Its wings were spread wide, glowing with forge energy behind it. A trail of ember-controlled drones followed like a metal storm, and the people cheered. Admiral Nolan's eyes filled with tears as she whispered, "He came back." The signal from the Horizon Star came through immediately. "This is Captain Logan Brooks," his voice said, calm and firm. "Permission to join the fight," Nolan answered. "Granted with honor." The Horizon Star took position between Earth and the incoming swarm. The Krivak ships paused when they saw it. They remembered this ship. They remembered the fear it brought, and now it stood in their way once again. Ross stood on the bridge of the Horizon Star, watching the enemy approach. His heart pounded, but he felt no fear. This time they were ready. Captain Brooks stood beside him, face calm, eyes sharp. He raised a hand. "Charge the forge lance. Prepare all weapons." The sky above Earth lit up as the final battle began. Krivak ships rushed forward like a wave of fire. Earth's defense satellites opened fire. Fighter squadrons zoomed through the air, dodging blasts and firing back. Then, the Horizon Star unleashed its fury. Railguns roared, torpedoes flew, and the forge lance burned across the stars. Each shot ripped through the Krivak like paper. The AI-controlled drones moved like ghosts, hitting targets before they could even fire. The swarm tried to surround the Horizon Star, but the ship moved with surprising speed. Its engines turned hard, flipping it in space like a predator. Side cannons blasted enemies out of the sky, one after another, on Earth. People watched the battle live from screens. Families huddled in shelters, staring in silence as the sky flashed. With war, children pointed at the supercarrier and whispered, "That's our ship." Hope was alive again. But the fight was not without cost. The Horizon Star's shields were dropping fast. Small Krivak vessels attached themselves to its hull. Trying to break inside, Ross ran to the emergency console, rerouting power to defense sectors. Too many of them. One officer shouted. Ember spoke calmly. "Deploy internal sweep units." Hidden turrets inside the ship activated, blasting the invaders one by one. Brooks held onto the railing. "We can't hold this forever." But he had one last move. He activated the Nova Protocol. It was something the Forge had installed deep inside the ship, a one-time blast that used the core's full energy, a light that could burn everything around them, but it would also shut the ship down for a short time afterward. Ross looked at him. "If we use that, we'll be open to counterattack." Brooks nodded. "We use it, or we lose Earth." With no time left, Brooks gave the order. "Nova Protocol." "Now," Ember replied. "Confirmed." Detonation in 10 seconds. The Horizon Star began to glow. The Forge core inside the ship pulsed like a living sun. The Krivak swarm rushed in, sensing danger, but it was too late. With a thunderous flash, the Nova blast exploded outward. Every Krivak ship within range was vaporized. The sky turned white for a moment, and then faded into silence. The Horizon Star powered down, drifting in space. Smoke and fire covered parts of its hull, but it was still whole. Earth's forces moved in to protect it while systems rebooted. Minutes later, lights returned to the bridge. Ross blinked and smiled. "We're still here." Brooks stood tall, his voice steady. "And so is Earth." Cheers erupted across the planet, from orbit to the ground. The message was clear: humanity had survived, because the Horizon Star had returned, and it had given everything to protect them. The final stand was over. And the humans had won, not just with firepower, but with courage, sacrifice, and the will to fight on. The Horizon Star had proven one last time, no matter how far it fell, it would always rise again, stronger than before, and the enemy would never forget the day it returned with fury. The smoke was still clearing from Earth's sky when the Horizon Star finally powered back on. Its engines glowed weakly, and parts of its armor were cracked. But the ship was still standing, still floating above the planet it had saved. People across Earth cheered, cried, and hugged each other. For them, this wasn't just a victory. It was survival. It was hope. Inside the command deck, Lieutenant Ross looked around at the flickering screens and damaged walls. The air smelled of burnt wires, but the systems were slowly coming back online. Ember's voice returned first, soft and faint. Main functions restored, defensive systems at 40%. Structural damage significant. Ross let out a breath. "But we're alive," he whispered. Captain Logan Brooks stood at the window, his face tired but calm. He watched Earth slowly rotate below them. "Blue and bright. We did it," Ross said beside him. Brooks didn't answer at first. He simply nodded and placed a hand on the glass. "We came home," he finally said. Admiral Nolan contacted them moments later. Her voice cracked with emotion as she said, "You saved us, Captain." "I don't know how to thank you," Brooks replied quietly. "Thank the crew. And thank the ship." Over the next few days, Earth's fleet sent repair teams to help the Horizon Star. Engineers from every sector came to see the legendary carrier. Some brought tools, others just stood in silence, amazed that it was real. For years they had thought it was gone. But now it was the symbol of human strength on the surface. People lit candles and placed photos near statues. Children painted pictures of the Horizon Star and called it the guardian ship. News reports ran all day, telling the story of how it came back from the dead. They told stories about Ember, the strange AI, and about the man who never gave up. Captain Brooks. Inside the ship, some of the surviving crew gathered in the main hangar. Many of them had lost friends during the fight. They held a quiet ceremony, naming the fallen and promising never to forget. Ross watched with his hands folded, his heart heavy but proud. These people had been through something no one else could imagine, and they had returned. Later that evening, Brooks called Ross to the bridge. The room was dim, lit only by soft blue lights. Brooks stood near the command seat, but didn't sit. He looked at Ross with steady eyes. "It's time," he said. Ross frowned. "Time for what, sir?" Brooks placed a small data chip on the console. "It's all yours now," he said. Ross blinked, confused. "You're giving me the ship?" Brooks gave a soft smile. "I've done my part," he said. "I led them through the dark, but this ship, it belongs to the future now." Ross didn't know what to say. He had come aboard as a signal analyst. Now he was being handed the most powerful ship in the fleet. "I'm not ready," he said quietly. Brooks shook his head. "No one ever is," he said. "But you will be." Then he turned to leave before walking out. He looked back one last time. "Take care of her," he said. "She's more than metal." Ross stood in silence after he left. He looked around the bridge, then stepped forward and touched the console. "Ember," he said. "Yes, Commander Ross," the AI replied. He smiled. "Let's begin." Weeks passed, and the Horizon Star was repaired in orbit. New weapons were added, new crew brought on board, but its heart stayed the same. The forge systems remained untouched, and Ember still watched over it. Now, whenever enemies of Earth looked up into the stars, they didn't see weakness. They saw the ship that wouldn't die. The one that vanished and returned more powerful than ever. A ship that tore through a swarm and protected its people. A ship that became a legend. Stories spread across the galaxy. Some said the Horizon Star was a ghost ship. Others said it was part machine, part human soul. No one could agree, but everyone knew one thing. If it appeared in your skies, you were in trouble. And so the Horizon Star flew again, not as a relic of the past, but as a symbol of everything humanity stood for: resilience, bravery, sacrifice, and fire. It had been lost, it had been forgotten, but it came back with fury, and the stars would never be the same again.